Hey neighbors, it's Trevor with eTrailer. Today we're doing an overview and an installation of the eTrailer base plate on our 2021 Jeep Cherokee. Now to get your vehicle flat tow ready, you're going to need 5 main components. And the first one is going to be your base plate. That's just going to be the connection point from your vehicle to your tow bar. And your tow bar is going to be the second piece you'll need because that's going to be the connection point from the vehicle's base plate to your motorhome. You'll also need to get safety cables. That's just in case there is an event where your vehicle does end up separating from the motorhome. It'll still be attached by these safety cables. And along with that safety feature, you'll also need a breakaway switch. And that's just gonna be able to pull that plug out, sending an electrical connection to your braking system, telling it to stop. And another piece is your wiring. Now the wiring is gonna run the rear tail lights, and your braking system will also tap into that if you have one that is supposed to be permanently installed. And then the last piece you would actually need is that braking system. You can get them in portable or as a permanently installed item. I prefer to say go with permanently installed if you're gonna be flat towing full time. If not, a portable might be more convenient for you. Now, a couple other recommendations I have for you if you're trying to get your flat tow setup ready to go is gonna be a vehicle charge line kit. What that's gonna allow you to do is for your motorhome to actually top up the battery on your vehicle so you're not having to stop and turn your car on and letting it charge while you're actually flat towing it. And another recommendation I have is gonna be a high-low adapter, which I will talk about a little later in the video. So what your base plate is going to be, it's going to be one of the main connecting pieces between your vehicle and your motorhome. And on our eTrailer one here specifically, it's going to be more of a low profile design. So you're not going to really see it whenever you have these arms off unless you know what you're looking for. And another piece of it was whenever we were trying to put our pins in on our tow bar, it was kind of hitting this safety chain loop. So you will have to work it in and out a couple times to loosen it up. But once you've loosened it up, it goes in smoothly. Now, along with that low profile look, it's pretty easy to take these arms out. All you have to do is pull this pin out, and once you have it out, you just twist the arm and then pull it straight out towards you. And one thing you may notice is it has a different connection point compared to some other base plates you might have been looking at, and there are a multitude of adapters that will allow you to use a tow bar you may already have with our base plate. Now, to get this hooked, it's not too bad. We just have to get our tow bar out of the stored mode, pull it apart, and we can let one arm kind of sit down while we get this other arm in place. Now to get hooked up, it's fairly easy. You just have to slide in place and put your pin through. And now the first couple times you actually put it in, it might take a little bit of time just because there's a little bit of that powder coating you might have to wear away before it will snap into place. And then you just repeat that process on the other side. Now to get our safety chain loop in place, all we have to do is press it in like that. And getting it out is a little difficult since our arm is pretty close here to where our hook goes in. So popping this out is gonna make it incredibly helpful to actually get this in place first. Now we went ahead and got everything else hooked up to the vehicle. And another thing I wanted to touch on is with using these tow bars, you're supposed to be within 3 inches of level, up or down. So you may have to measure the vehicle and your motorhome to actually get a high-low adapter. And all you have to do is take the difference of the two numbers, and that'll give you the amount of inches you need for your high-low adapter. Now the install on this base plate wasn't too bad, but it is pretty in-depth, so I'd make sure you have enough time set aside. And you will have to be trimming a few things behind the fascia as well. So if you don't have the tools for that, or maybe you just don't feel comfortable doing that, you can always use our dealer locator tool and actually find a shop near you that'd be able to get this on for you and back out on the road. But with all that out of the way, if I've convinced you to go ahead and give this a try, we can go ahead and jump into that install. To begin our installation, we're going to start by getting our front fascia prepped for removal. And to do that, we'll have a few push pins on the top of this plastic cover that we'll have to remove. And to do that, all you have to do is get a flathead screwdriver or a plastic trim panel tool and pry up on them. If you choose to use a flathead, you might have to work around the outside of the edge of it and just pry it up gently, and it'll eventually come out. And if you get the base stuck in here like mine is, you can go underneath it and then gently pry on it and it'll pop out of place too. Now with all the push pins down, what we can do is take our plastic trim here, pull forward to release the tabs from behind the headlights, and then remove our plastic cover and set it off to the side. So now we're going to take out the 3 screws and our fender well liner. So to do this, we'll be using an 8mm socket, and you'll have one located at the bottom, one kind of midways up, and then one all the way up at the top here. Once you have that removed, you'll do the same for the rest and on the other side of the vehicle as well. So we will have to remove a rivet here as well on the underside of our fascia. You can just use a 3/16 drill bit to drill that out on both sides. And then on our skid plate here, we're going to be using a 10mm socket for these 4 bolts that hold the fascia to the skid plate. And then we'll have 7 bolts, 3 on the front, 4 on the back, that we'll use a 13mm socket to remove. Now before we actually take off the fascia, I went ahead and put some painter's tape on there just to make sure that whenever we go to put it back on, it doesn't end up scratching, because there's tabs on the inside that can cause a little bit of damage if you overshoot the spot they're supposed to go into. Now there's one more bolt we're going to have to take off, and inside of our fender well liner here, you just can reach in here, pull this back. There should be 1 bolt in here. And we'll go ahead and take this off. This should be the last remaining bolt on both sides of the vehicle that's holding the fascia on right now. And I just used a 10mm socket to get this removed, but we'll go ahead and do this to the other side, and then we can pop off the fascia. And we will have one more bolt we'll have to take out here. And to do that, I'm just using a Torx bit. And we'll have to do that on both sides of the vehicle. Now we're going to go ahead and get an extra set of hands. I have Brad helping me today, and we're going to remove the fascia. And to do this, on the back part of our fender well, you'll pull down until you'll see this little pin that's sticking straight up, comes down far enough past the liner, and then you'll pull out. And you may also need help with a trim panel tool, because back here, there's these clips the painted portion's hanging up on whenever you're pushing down on it. You kind of have to use it to pry it up over the top of those clips. And what I mean is basically get behind this tab here and give it some pressure, and then you can work your way up as you're getting these loosened up here. Now I have 1 electrical connection, it looks like, on the down over here. And to remove it, you just have to pull back on this tab, and then should just come off here. There we go. Now we can go ahead and set this off to the side. So we're going to have to remove our lower support here, and to do this, we'll be using a 15mm socket. We'll have 3 bolts to take off, plus this 1 retaining clip. Now to actually take off the retainer clip, we're just going to take a trim panel tool and work it behind this clip, and we'll pull it straight off from there. Now we're going to take off our tow hook, and you'll have 2 60mm bolts located next to the tow hook, and you'll have 1 nut that's going to be all the way behind our frame here, and I'm just going to be using a adjustable wrench for that. So before we can get our base plate put up, we'll have to take off our bumper support, because we'll actually have to grind down the outside of this bottom tab, since our base plate will be mounting up to our bumper support. Now to take off the bumper support, we just have to remove 4 bolts, 2 on bottom, 2 on top on each side of the vehicle, and you'll have 1 retainer clip towards the top, just like we did with this bottom support. With those off, we can go ahead and remove the bumper support and go get that trimming done on it. So when grinding these 2 tabs down flat, and you can kind of see this is the path we took. We ground from the top of this line all the way around these tabs up back to this line until it was all flush. And if you take a look at the other side, this is what it's going to look like when you're done. And now with the support ribs cut down, we can go ahead and put our bumper support back on. And I'm just going to start by hanging it on those studs that we had, and then starting a bolt on each side. And now with the bolt on each side, we can go ahead and put the other top bolt in on both sides, and then start installing the base plate. Now where we grinded off those tabs, what we did is we went back and hit it with a little bit of rust-resistant spray paint just to make sure that it prevents any corrosion from occurring. And now with the bumper support back in place, we can go ahead and start putting our base plate on. And to do so, you'll have these two smaller holes, and this one's gonna be slotted on the bottom. You're gonna line that up with the studs on your frame here. Once you have that lined up, you're gonna take one of the factory bolts you had from that lower support, take some blue Loctite that is included with the kit, put that on the threads. Once you have that on your threads, you can go ahead and reinstall those bolts. And we'll do the lower three, and then we'll do one of the tow hook bolts up top here. Now we'll take another one of those tow hook bolts, slide it up into place. And keep in mind, one thing we did run into is you're gonna have to install both at the same time. So you don't wanna snug any side up before you get the other one put on. Now we're gonna take one of our 10mm bolts with a lock washer and one of those fender washers. We're gonna put some more blue Loctite on this thread, and they're gonna go into the bolts here that are gonna be actually supporting the bumper support. Now we're gonna go ahead and get everything snugged up, and then we'll come back and torque it to specs. Now if you need a torque wrench, you can pick one up here at etrailer.com, or you can rent one from your local auto parts store. And the reason we're torquing this down is just to make sure this base plate stays on here nice and securely. And now that we've gone ahead and torqued down everything to specs, we can go ahead and get our safety cables installed. Now to install these, all you have to do is put a quick link on there, and you'll take your safety cable and find a good spot to wrap around your frame. And for us, we're just going over the top of the front, coming out behind the back of our bumper support frame, and then we will attach that to our quick links and tighten that up, and then we'll repeat this on the other side. Now this is going to be a good time to go ahead and get any other flat toe accessories installed that you may have. Since we have the front fascia off, we're going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll jump back and show you what it looks like afterwards. And as you can see, we went ahead and got the fascia put back on, and our base plate sits perfectly where it's at. And as you can see, it came out where the original tow hooks were at. And that'll conclude our overview and our installation of the eTrailer base plate on our 2021 Jeep Cherokee.